Dan Fran, so he's your fan for a long time. So B Dan Fran wanted to ask you about your dominatrix experiment and if you slapped or kicked your man. What is
so I have never slapped or kicked my husband, but I did do it in my my dominatrix work.
So tell us about your dominatrix work.
Okay, so my dominatrix work I talked about on my podcast, Dirty Change. If you guys want to check it out, Dirty Change with Tommy Pistol on YouTube. And basically what happened was when I was 19 years old, I was in a very serious relationship. We were engaged to get married. I know that's very young to get married, but we were engaged to get married basically. And my boyfriend or fiance at the time cheated on me with a dominatrix. I don't think that he was into that. He actually had some like weird mommy issues. His mom had passed away when he was very young, but I don't think he was into like S&M. But as a 19-year-old, I was like trying to deal with what happened. And so I got into dominatrix work to see if that was something that he was like into. And I did it for about a year and a half, 2 years. And it was very interesting. It was a very interesting experience for me. I was very shy. I personally am not into S&M in my personal life, but it was just something that I wanted to explore. So I did have clients, high-end clients, and it was very interesting. I treated it like an acting gig. I was like role playing, and that's kind of what it is.
That's cool. So did you work at a dungeon or what? How did you get clients?
I didn't, and I'm very, very lucky that I was very safe and nothing bad ever happened to me, but I just found clients on Craigslist. And I was able to find a bunch of really amazing clients. A couple of my clients told me I was the best dominatrix they'd ever had, even though I had no idea what I was doing. I literally went to the Pleasure Chest in West Hollywood and bought a whip and some sexy clothes. And I just like winged it. Like it was improv. I would not recommend doing this. Actually, there's a system in dominating that I now know about. And I apologize to all the professional dominatrixes out there because I did not pay my dues. But you're supposed to pay your dues. You're actually supposed to work at a dungeon and you're supposed to work as a sub first for 6 months to a year. And that's so that you understand what it is like to be dominated. And then you can graduate up to being a dominatrix. So I kind of like skipped the whole system and did it. Again, I had no idea what I was doing. But I think that I naturally made a good dominatrix because to be a very good dominatrix, you have to be a very good sub. And so to be a good sub, you have to understand about listening to people. And I think that's the best thing about being a dominatrix and why people love me so much is that as a dominatrix is because it's all about listening, right? The person that's really in control is the submissive. And this because the submissive is telling you what their boundaries are and you have to respect that. And so the person that actually has the control is the sub, which a lot of people don't understand.
I like that, especially what you're talking about too, about the dungeon thing. As like someone was telling me about that, how you have to start as a sub and work your way up. It sounded almost like UCB, like you could just and I was kind of like, if you could just do it at home, why do you have this system? So I like that you bypassed it. You were independent. So you were a professional dominatrix, it sounded like. So was it kind of like they paid you for like a 1 hour session or something like that?
I did, yeah. I was paid hourly. My rate was like 200 plus an hour. I didn't do anything sexual. I only had one client where I did something sexual and I didn't feel it was sexual. I put a toy up his rear, but I wasn't like into it. So I guess I didn't consider it sexual, even though it was. I actually felt very uncomfortable and I felt very bad about it because he seemed like he was in a lot of pain, but he claims that he enjoyed it. But I personally, on a personal level, felt very uncomfortable.
Was it kind of like these 1 hour professional sessions? Like I've heard people who go to them, but they've never actually truly described what happens in the hour. So what happens in a 1 hour professional session?
So as I said, dominatrix work is all about listening. So what I did was I literally just did I didn't know what I was doing, but when I went there, like, and as I said before, the sub has all the control. The subs point blank told me what they wanted. So for one session, for example, my client was like, I want you to ride me like a pony, slap me on the rear like I'm a pony, and beat me with this whip. And I just like did exactly what I don't want to put down any dominatrixes that feel maybe their experience is more controlling or more crafting. But me personally, I felt like it was an acting role. I was told what to do and I just did it. I mean, it sounds very boring, but that's exactly what I did. You know, I would go into a session and a client would say, I want X, Y, and Z. I want you to step on my face, call me this, this, and this. And then I just did it. So it was very easy. I take direction. I'm an actress. So I just I just wore a sexy outfit. I had makeup, I had a whip, and I just point blank just did what they asked. I mean, if someone thinks the dominatrix is a very dominating role, I think they don't really understand it, because I just did what the sub asked me to.
And it's like, but how did you feel like 1 hour of that? Or was it like 1 hour of just like riding him for like a pony for an hour?
It was, yeah, the time flew by. I mean, sometimes it was an hour, hour and a half. I just did whatever they asked me, and it just would take up the time.
It's so interesting because, like, for instance, I've done some just lifestyle, just like with my ex-boyfriend, like we would do stuff, but then it would be like 5 minutes and I feel like it would be bored. Like I would just slap him and stuff. And I always kind of wondered, how do professionals last to do it for 1 hour? I didn't know if there's like a story you have to tell.
There was like no story. It was just simply like, do this, do that. I mean, maybe I had boring clients, but I mean, most of my clients were very stereotypical sub clients. They were people in very high powered positions. So the stereotype is a sub is usually someone who has a lot of power in their life and they want to experience being submissive. But the catch is that they're not really being submissive, because the sub is the power role. You're telling the dom what to do. You're telling them what are your boundaries. So it's just another way to experience control, but feeling in a very safe environment, I guess, right? And so all of my clients were very stereotypical subs. I had a high-powered attorney. I had an executive of a very large corporation. I had most of my clients were very stereotypical subs, very power roles in their day-to-day life. And so they knew exactly what they wanted, and they would say, I want X, Y, and Z. And then I just did it. And yes, it would fill an hour. I don't know how, but it did.
Anytime like I try to do something, I'd be like 5 minutes, be like, we're done.
Well, I think that's because you guys weren't that into it, right? These were guys that were really, really into it.
This is weird. Is like we were into it, but the act would just be so fast. So, for instance, like I dated someone and they like CBT, like the ball torture, right? So I just kick him in the nuts, and he was like happy, but it's like one kick, and he's like, I feel good. It's like that's it. How does this last for an hour? I understood. And so I even tried to take like a class to try to figure out, like, when it was called craft a scene. And then, but they were describing me these insane scenes with like stories and stuff like that. But I was kind of like, wait, are you supposed to like go in there with like a story? And I got really confused.
We never did anything like that. So I don't know. Maybe people were like not that into it, but my sessions were always super like filled.
So I always want to be a fly on a wall and just like find out what people are doing. It's almost like when people pay for like personal training, it's like, yeah, an hour will fly by, but I'm like, what do you do for that 1 hour? Oh, but that's amazing. So you did it, you said, for about a year and a half, and then you just quit. Like, what happened to the clients? Were they just sad and you're like, bye? Or
They kind of fell off. One of my clients went really deep into the world of subs, and he was living as a full-time slave in someone's house in a dog crate. So he went like really far off the deep end into the sub world, and he did come to see me do stand up a few times, and he was actually a very sweet guy, but he just went full off into the sub world. And then I had my other clients just kind of like fell off. I think maybe they found someone else who was more dedicated.